Haven't made a video in a video. Spot on the forehead. Hello everyone, and I know it's been a while since I've made a video, but I just felt like I had to make a Mortal Kombat review because I've been hearing things about this film for years. You know, the whole webisode thing happened with like Michael G. White and Ian Anthony Dale, and that looked really cool. And so I was like, are they making like a TV series? Are they doing movies? What's happening? And when I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks cool. Like, I'm really interested to see how they incorporate certain elements from the games, like the fatalities and like dialogue, flawless victory, test your might, all these things, with it feeling organic. You know, like if say we're doing like choreography, fluid camera movement, and then it came to the fatality and it just went to the side, and then it would like turn you back on again after the fatality. How do they make those things work where they feel natural and it doesn't just feel like, you know, out of place for the film? And because it was rated R as well, it was like excellent. They've got the gore, all that's going to work really well. That we all just love the Mortal Kombat series for. So I'm going to talk about the story a little bit. Then we'll talk about the characters, and then my kind of pluses, minuses with it, and then maybe some spoilers at the end. We'll see. Now, as you can imagine with the story, if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat at all, it shouldn't be a surprise. But basically, there's two realms. It's the underworld. Outworld, which is the bad side, and Earth Realm, and there's champions chosen for each, and they're supposed to meet in this tournament. And if either side gets 10 wins in a row, they are allowed to basically invade that realm and do whatever the hell they like with it. But Shang Tsung has got other plans. He's like, nah, I'm not taking a chance on this. We've got 9. I want to make sure we get the 10th and we get to invade. So he tells Sub-Zero basically, listen pal, we've got to like smoke these Earth champions before they even get to the tournament. We can't be having this. We need to get this done. So this is how basically Sub-Zero's on a mission to kill any Earth champion that he can find before the tournament. So that's the actual story point. That's the whole background of Mortal Kombat. Now we get to the characters, which is where we're introduced to Cole Young. But Cole Young is a brand new character. It's never been in any Mortal Kombat film, and he's obviously, like, you can tell right away that he is the audience vehicle. He's what we're supposed to be using to see through his eyes, to see how the story unfolds and get this information delivered to us as a new viewer who's never seen anything about Mortal Kombat, doesn't know anything about the characters, the history, never played the games. And I get why this was done, but I just don't feel that had to be done. You know, because he is just an MMA guy, like, kind of was a champion before, kind of slipped a bit, still trains, but is completely unaware of Mortal Kombat, of any of this, of Outworld, of Realms. And as the story unfolds, we get to learn about all of that, like I said, through his eyes. And he's just, as he goes along for the ride, we are along with him. And now, as I said, I don't really feel Cole Young's character was anything special. The problem is Cole Young is the main character. So we're so excited if you know something about Mortal Kombat that you're looking forward to seeing all the other characters of the cast of Mortal Kombat on screen. You want to see them. You want to see them doing cool shit. But because he's the main character, he's the new guy who doesn't have his powers, doesn't have all this experience. He's kind of boring in a way. Because he's just as I say, he's just an MMA guy. Got a wife and a daughter. Struggling to get by, you know, there's a lot of folk are, and he's just thrown into this really supernatural world with a lot of crazy ass characters. And if you know, as I say again, if you want to know about Mortal Kombat, you want to see the crazy ass characters. You want to see Sub-Zero, you want to see Scorpion, you want to see Melina, Cabal, you know, Goro, you want to see all these guys doing some crazy ass shit. I don't know, the first act is great because it's to do with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Like 400 years ago, 17th century. So you're getting a feeling, you know, this has been going on a long time, as the Mortal Kombat tournament has. But everything else after that is set in present day. Yeah, and as I say again, we're along with Cole, and basically once Sub-Zero agrees to be hunting down all of these folk, so he tries to kill Cole. Jack shows up. Jack saves them, but of course Sub-Zero's like, nah man, you ain't getting out of here. We're having this fight. So Jax basically lets them run away. He's like, nah man, what, you wait to see your family get slaughtered? Get the fuck out of here. I'll deal with this guy. And of course, Jax gets his ass whooped. And because you think, well, Sub-Zero's like 400 years old at least, his martial arts experience is off the charts, and he can throw ice. You fucked, man. You're so boned. He does well, but he's like, I've done 6 tours, like, motherfucker, or whatever. But Sub-Zero's like, I don't give a shit. I've fought, like, I don't know, giants and who knows what he's fought over the years. Like, I'm crazy as fuck. So Jack sends Cole to see Sonya. Sonya is I really like her character. She's really cool. She's like the one that has all the information and gives the download to Cole. Knows about the tournament, knows that it's centuries years old, and basically Cole, of course, as he's supposed to be the guy getting introduced, is totally skeptical. It's like, really? But because he thinks the dragon tattoo that he's got on his chest is just a birthmark. I'm like, mate, it's a dragon. Okay, that is the coolest birthmark I've ever seen in my life. Has anybody ever had a birthmark that looks like a circle with a dragon in it? But again, if you're just like an average Joe, what else are you supposed to think? Like, I was tattooed as a baby. But she tells him that anyone who's got this mark is one of the champions. So after she gives him the download, we get to meet Kano. Now Kano easily steals the show, like by far the best character in the film. You can tell with his dialogue exactly who he is after her little script description that he's the leader of the Black Dragon, I don't know, army or whatever, group. And like he's a mercenary, and his dialogue just tells you exactly who he is. You know, he just doesn't give a shit, psycho nut job, in it for the money. You know, opportunistic motherfucker. That's who he is. And they do a little nod here because after this they fight Reptile. Now Reptile, I'm not really sure on the choice of why they made him look like this, because as far as I was aware, he was a humanoid, like lizard features. But in this, he's totally like a big ass looking mutated Komodo dragon. That's what he looks like. And then this Kano, you get to see it in the trailer. This is when he gets to do his and like rips his heart out. And but you don't see that in the trailer. As after that, it turns round to like to Sonya and Cole, and it's like Kano wins. And I was like, oh man, that was cool. And let's see what our characters. Raiden, because now after the 411 the download, we go to the ancient temple, where this is where all of Earth's champions used to train, and you can tell it's all derelict now. It doesn't look like it's crazy populated, it's just a big dry ass desert. And we officially meet Raiden, and Raiden's character just felt very flat to me. Like, we get it, he's the demigod guy, he's more powerful than them all, but as he says in the film, he's not allowed to interfere. So even though he is as powerful as fuck, he can't interfere. So he's kind of like, well, like, alright man, like what good are you, man? Like, because he doesn't even train them. It's at this point we've been introduced to Liu Kang, and see, I'm going through the characters, it's right, there's a lot of characters in here. Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and they're the ones that train them. What I found really weird though is I started to check like the time on it of the movie to see how long we had left, because I was like, man, what is going on here? Like, it seemed to drag. The middle just seemed to drag on a little bit. I was just like, can we get to the Mortal Kombat shit? Can we get to the fights and the cool stuff? Because the whole point is, these tattoos, for some reason, they've changed it. This isn't in the games, but for the movie, I understand again why they did it. It was just an artistic choice, but I didn't think it was necessary. But these, when you're marked as an Earth Realm champion, these give you access to powers that a normal human wouldn't normally have, and it's called an Arcana. So the whole goal of the training here is to unlock your Arcana, whatever it may be. And Kano has a great line where he's talking about, oh, get it, you don't really know what you're going to get. And he was talking about, you may get a fireball, or you may get a shitty frisbee hat from Kung Lao. And I really like that line, because I would be frustrated if I got fucking frisbee hat. So they're all trying to unlock their Arcana for what it needs, and then basically they're saying one of the most direct routes is just to get your ass beat. Kano's just beating the shit out of Cole. Like, come on, man. like, oh, I think I see a little Arcana coming. And he's like, nah, it's not. And basically, Shang Tsung is getting tired, he's getting impatient, he wants to go in and just beat these guys' ass. So he's like, how do we get in to this temple? How do we find our way in? And Cabal talks to Kano, and we know Kano's a bad guy. Well, we know it's weird because we love the character who he is, and we know he's a psycho nut job, but we kind of like that he's on the good side, you know. But if you're know anything about Mortal Kombat, you know he's not a good guy. As again, opportunistic motherfucker. So maybe a slight spoiler for like people who have never. But if you've got even a slight inkling of Mortal Kombat, you know anything about the world, you know Kano's a bad guy. Then Cabal's like, come on, man! Like you used to be like feared and shit. Who look at you now and all this kind of stuff. And the dialogue between those two is kind of weird because I feel like it's Cabal is like Kano light or something. Like the way they talk. You know, like are they're like mates as much as Psycho Nut Jobs can be mates. Because Kano, of course, betrayed his ass at some point, and that's why he has to wear the like what she calls the iron lung on his like the mask on his face. But anyway, we've talked about the characters. As far as I say, the characters that I like and are developed, it's got to be as much as they can be given, you know who they are. I would say Sonya's quite good. Jax is good. Kano is the best. Cole is developed, but I just find his character to be very boring. There's nothing about his character. I'm like, oh man, like stop showing me Cole. I want to see the other cool guys. As far as the bad side goes, I feel like they try to rely on like external features to let you know who they are, as opposed to like knowing anything about them. Because it's all about the good guys, you know. It's all about them. They just accept that these are the bad guys because they look like bad guys. Like Shang Tsung's character. Like, you know, like his main motivation is just to, he's like, I want Earthrealm, man. Like, hurry up, let's do this. Milena, I don't think does she have any lines? Maybe 2? And you can, you know, she's obviously she's on the bad side, but then she's got these big crazy ass mouth. And then Cabal, also on the bad side, just looks crazy, like a mean bad guy. And then Raiko, who's like, Raiko's just useless, man. No point of talking about Raiko. He's not even in the trailer, and the wallpaper. But I would say the good things of this film that they've done well are the fatalities, are the flawless victories, are the gore. Like a lot of blood. They're not like turning in or shy away from that. What was I going to say? The good things. The choreography, I would say it is good, but it's not like mind blowing or anything. I think what appeals more is the visual effects during the fights. So when it's coming to a lot of hand-to-hand combat, that doesn't really feel compared to anything than seeing like a blood dagger being made, you know, or like a wall of ice being made, or a fireball or something. I think they do rely on like quick cuts to make the martial arts seem cooler because of the visual effects that come along with the fights. Like it's not the raid shit or like John Wick or anything. It's not on that level. You know, it's more about the visual style as far as like the CGI stuff. So they've done all that really well. But it didn't do well, man, is this need for Cole shit. Not to say he's a bad character or anything. Like, I mean, Louis Tan did as good a job as he probably could, but it's just somebody made the call. I don't know who it was the studio writer, somebody, the backer, you know, who had the money, somebody who wasn't a Mortal Kombat guy, but had the power, the influence to be like, nah, man, you're doing this again. I don't know, and they just had to bow down to it. And even then, I remember seeing something on Twitter where it was Louis Tan was saying there's a whole fight to cut out the film. So I don't know how much they chopped away to take like the runtime down. And to be honest, I would have been happy if it was like a 2.5 hour film just to get a little bit more backstory, a little bit more the character growth. And then, you know, I mean, I was enjoying it, but there was definitely pacing issues. The middle of the film dragged on, man. I was like, let's get to the end, let's get to the Mortal Kombat tournament, and then that's what everyone is expecting, but it just never. I don't know, man. Definitely inconsistent at times, you know. And towards the end of the film, as I say, I'm like looking at my watch, because this is what my watch looks like. I was looking at my watch, and I was like, man, we've got like 15 minutes to go. Like, let's fucking and it's the last 15 minutes, which kind of feels like a tournament light. You know, like they all pay it off. Like, how can we win this? And then like they all pay it off, and then they do like not an official tournament, but it's basically a tournament because they all get teleported to different areas and they go for the one-on-one fight. And in the end, so this is a spoiler. But everybody was wondering where Johnny Cage was, and I was reading about it myself. They were saying they didn't want to put Johnny Cage in it because he was basically resembles a 90s action hero, and he was based on Jean-Claude Van Damme in the very first game before that fell apart. So they wanted to leave him, and that's why they used Cole. Because Johnny Cage in the 1995 film is basically Cole. He's just an actor who doesn't know about Mortal Kombat, and he's got all the suitcases and he's falling off the boat and shit because he thinks it's just going to be a tournament to raise his profile, completely unaware of the stakes that are going to be had. It's not just about you in a little tournament, it's the fate of your whole realm. And he's completely shallow, and it's all about his looks. And I was like, well, why did they use an unintroduced character when they could have just used Johnny again? Because at the end of the film, spoilers! Spoilers. Basically, after that fight, when they lose, Shang Tsung's like, I'm going to regroup and then I'm going to whip your ass, for sure this time. So then Raiden's like, we have to get more fighters, we have to get more champions. So in the end, Cole says he's packing it up, he's leaving, he's going to Hollywood. Why is he going to Hollywood? Because he's looking for someone, and then it pans from him to a poster, and it says Johnny Cage, Citizen Cage. So he's going to get him. Really quickly at the end though, just before I go, the music, man, where was the music? Where was the banging tunes to get you pumped up for the fights? It just never happened. It was more like orchestral kind of subtle stuff, and I was like, nah man, I was like, I was like, where's that shit? And I don't get it till the credits. The Mortal Kombat theme song doesn't happen until the credits. So with all that in mind, I'm gonna give this film a 6 out of 10. I wanted to love it more, but outside of the visual effects and stuff, the actual story, the plot, it was just dragged in points. It just was really inconsistent. So 6 out of 10, I'm afraid, Mortal Kombat. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.